Daniela Stewart, DANIELLA
Where are you employed?
The Georgia Bureau of Investigation.
How long have you worked for the Georgia Bureau of Investigation?
Approximately 8 years. So it was February 22nd, and I responded to the crime scene at approximately 2 p.m., so I would have gotten the call maybe an hour prior to that.
Tell the court what the crime scene was like when you got there.
When I got there, one of the things that I noticed was it was very windy out. There was a lot of leaf coverage in the area. It was a wooded area.
What was the temperature like?
It was approximately 67 degrees.
Was this an outdoor scene?
It was an outdoor scene.
Can you tell the court what are the challenges particular to outdoor scenes?
So with an outdoor scene, obviously you're dealing with weather conditions, basically Mother Nature could be directly impacting you. Whereas when you have an indoor scene, even if it's raining outside, it's not really going to impact how you work.
Who did you work with specifically with the University of Georgia Police Department in processing this scene?
That would be now Lieutenant Saunders.
And how did y'all go about processing this scene? Was it together? Was it separate? Tell us about that process here.
Yeah, so what we decided was because they were going to be the primary agency on the case, I took photographs for them. That was what they requested. And then I assisted with collecting the evidence, but Detective Saunders took possession of all of the evidence.
And when you said you assisted in collecting it, were you literally standing side by side as y'all were collecting it together?
Yes. The AirPod.
Okay. And evidence item 2?
Evidence item 2 was a blood-stained rock.
Evidence item 3?
A blood-stained rock.
Evidence item 4?
Was a section of a tree.
Evidence item 5?
The jacket.
Evidence item 6?
The sports bra.
Evidence item 7?
A suspected blood stain.
Evidence item 8?
The cell phone.
And the cell phone belonging to who?
Laken Riley.
Did you assign these a number by any significance, or just the number in which you collected them, or
just the number in which I collected them? Sometimes I do it by what I first see. It just depends.
I'd like to start first with State's Exhibit in 18. Tell the court, what are we looking at here?
So this is an overall photograph of the trail.
And in this picture, State's Exhibit 18, in what direction would be Laken Riley's body?
It would be towards the right side.
Okay, so I'm going to, for the record, point my finger on the right side where my finger is?
Yes.
That would be in that direction?
Yes.
When you got there, did you observe, first of all, was Laken's body still there?
Yes, it was.
And did you observe any signs of medical intervention?
Yes.
What did you observe?
So with the AED pads were actually still on her body, and the AED was actually still audible.
What is an AED?
It is a device that first responders use to try to revive individuals.
What does this depict?
So this is an overall, once I put out my evidence markers, and the fallen tree would be on this side.
To the left side of States 49 for the record.
Correct.
All right. Did you observe injuries to Laken Riley's body?
Yes.
States Exhibit 35. Tell the court, first of all, where overall did you observe injuries?
So there were injuries to the left side of her head, and then there were also these linear marks on her torso.
And point to those for us. Is that, okay, thank you. Middle of States 35. States 38, what part of Laken Riley's body are we looking at here?
So this would be the lower, like just below her left hip. I had to kind of pull down her underwear. We always try to examine the decedent to see if there are any individual injuries under the clothing that we're missing.
And is that your glove then that we see in the photo?
Yes, it is.
All right, what injuries did you see when you pulled down her underwear?
There was another linear mark that looks kind of similar to the ones that were on her torso, but a little bit wider.
Okay, can you point that out for the court? Where is her underwear line in this photo then?
So her underwear is down here where my glove is, because I'm having to pull it down to photograph that injury.
And in this injury that you photographed in States 38, is that in her pubic area?
Yes.
And you actually can see pubic hair in that area?
Correct.
Can you show that to the court, please? All right, thank you. Circle it below the wound for the record in the bottom part of States 38.
Yes.
States 39.
This is a photograph of the lower half. So I was trying to photograph the dirt stains that were on her leggings.
States 40.
Those are her shoes.
States 27.
This is a close-up of her face.
States 32.
This is a close-up of the injuries to the left side of her head.
Please point to the injury, one of the injuries to the left side of her head that you captured in this photo.
So on scene, really I can only observe two. I know that there were more, but I can only see two. So this one and then this larger one.
Did you make any observations about her hair?
Yeah, so her hair was very tangled, which made it difficult for me to locate the additional injuries.
And tangled with what?
So there were leaves, blood, dirt tangled in her hair.
And when you say tangled, do you mean attached? Do you mean, I don't mean to be picky, but what do you mean by tangled?
Yeah, so typically with the decedents, we try to do an examination for additional injuries, which would mean somewhat kind of looking through the hair. And in this case, it was extremely difficult for me to do that because her hair was so matted and clotted with blood.
For some reason we lost our, there it goes, okay. States exhibit, and I want to ask you before we leave off the underwear, you said you did pull down the underwear.
Correct.
But this photo states exhibit 35. Does that depict the way you found her underwear when you got there?
Yes.
Before you actually examined her for other injuries?
Correct.
Okay. And how would you describe her underwear in this photo and what you saw on scene?
So on scene, her leggings were down below her belly button, and the underwear was somewhat protruding out of the right front area.
And any observations you may have made about her shoes? What type of shoes was she wearing?
She had Hoka brand running sneakers.
And did you observe those and look at those on scene?
Yes.
And what observations, if any, did you make about those shoes? And I'm showing you now states 40 for the record.
When I first looked at them, I noticed that they had reddish stains on them, and then they were also dirty, and then in the grooves, dirt was, I guess, caked, for lack of a better term, in those grooves. This was, evidence markers 2 and 3 represent rocks that were bloodstained, and then evidence marker 4 represents the tree that had bloodstains.
All right, before we zoom in on 2, 3, and 4, what, if anything, did you notice about this area in your crime scene sketch that you labeled 2, 3, and 4?
So in this area near evidence markers 2, 3, and 4, there was also an area where I could actually see the ground, where the leaves were significantly disturbed to the point where I could physically see the ground.
And why is that significant to you?
Because the leaf coverage was pretty thick throughout the entire crime scene, and there were no other areas where I could actually see the ground.
So what conclusions did you draw based upon that?
Based on that, and then also like her hair being very matted, some type of significant disturbance happened in that area.
Did you observe blood in that area?
I did.
And where did you observe the blood in that area?
The blood was near evidence markers 2, 3, and 4, and there was no other blood in the crime scene other than obviously where her body was resting. And there were some hairs on that rock.
What type of hair?
It looked like it was brown, yeah, brown.
63
This is the rock from evidence marker 3.
and 64.
Another view of that rock, and you can see that there's hair on it.
May I approach the witness room?
Yes.
Which number is this in your crime scene sketch?
Evidence marker 2.
That's marker 2. '88. What evidence marker is this one?
Evidence marker 3.
And approximately what was the distance between 2 and 3?
I feel like it was less than a foot. They were very close together, which is why they got measured together.
How long did you spend at this crime scene that day?
I started at 2 and I was finished at around 8:45 p.m. That is a photograph of the bloodstained tree.
And State's Exhibit 67, what does that depict?
The hairs that were attached to the tree.
It's difficult to see from my perspective, but can you point out the hairs that you saw in State 67? In the middle of the photograph. Did you guys literally cut the tree?
Yes.
And why did you do that?
Because we wanted to make sure that we had the best evidence possible, and we felt that swabs were not going to be enough.
Evidence marker 5. Which is State 69 and is depicted in the photograph. What is that?
That's her jacket, her sports bra.
And had those items been cut prior to your arrival?
Yes.
Does this jacket have a zipper on it?
Yes, it does.
Item number 3 inside of States 90. What is this?
A section of the sports bra.
I want to talk to you about your marker 8. What was marker 8?
The phone.
At what time or how long approximately did it take y'all to find the phone?
We found the phone maybe about an hour before we finished. So, maybe like 5 hours.
By the time you found the phone, was it daylight still or dark?
It was still dark. Oh, well, sorry. It was dark.
So State's Exhibit 80, what are we looking at there?
I can't see the evidence marker.
I'm sorry, hold on. I will try to move it and see if it resumes. There we go.
So this is a photograph of evidence marker 8, and then in the background, those are the other evidence markers.
Okay. And where, I know we see evidence marker 8, but can you see the actual cell phone in this photograph?
No.
Okay. But it was there where evidence marker 8 was?
Yes.
Okay. Did you take a close-up of this?
I did.
States 81, what does that depict?
The cell phone.
Can you please point to the cell phone in States 81? Okay, in the middle of the screen?
Yes.
Did you collect the cell phone?
Yes, we did.
Did you look at the cell phone?
Yes.
What, if anything, did you observe about the cell phone?
We noticed that there was an area of ridge detail on the phone.
When you say ridge detail, what do you mean by that?
Fingerprint ridge detail.
Were you able to see that without processing the phone at all?
Yes, a little bit, but I had to use oblique lighting, so that's where you take your flashlight and you kind of side light it to be able to view the latent prints better.
States 82, what does that depict?
That's a photograph of the phone and me using the flashlight to try to highlight it.
I'm gonna wait for this thing to stop moving. Okay, hold on a second. Maybe it doesn't like the photos on top of each other. Okay. Where on the phone was this image that you saw, or this item that you saw? See, I'm not even touching it now, and it's just moving.
It was at the bottom, close to the charging port area.
And do you see it depicted in States 82?
Yes.
Please point to it with your pointer. Were you able to determine, was there any reddish brown stains on the phone?
Yes.
Okay, what did you see?
It looked like there were reddish stains suspected to be blood.
Okay. Where on the phone?
Specifically the print.
States Exhibit 83, this may be really tough. I think I'm gonna have to come to you closer for it. So before I do that, did you end up taking a better photograph or more photographs of the latent print that you saw on the phone?
Yes.
States Exhibit 84, what is that?
That is a macro photo of the latent print, or in this case, it would be a patent print because we could kind of see it, so, of the ridge detail.
Of the ridge detail?
Correct.
And when you say a macro photo, what do you mean by that?
So with photography, we have different lenses, and the macro lens specifically allows us to take close-up photographs of small items that are difficult to see. So it almost magnifies.
When did you take this photo?
On the scene after we collected the phone, immediately.
Was it before or after the phone was processed for prints?
This photograph, I believe this one is before. Yes, this one is before Detective Saunders used powder.
Okay, and did you see Detective Saunders process the phone?
I did.
And was that done in your presence?
Yes,
And then did he lift a latent lift card from that phone?
he did.
But this was your photograph prior to that?
Correct.
Now, for States 83, I am going to have to come closer to you because I am assuring that it's not going to show. May I approach?
Yes.
States 83, could you tell us what we're looking at? And then I'm just going to have to show counsel in the court.
This is a photograph of I was trying to show that the print was located in the area where you would swipe to unlock. And so the phone was actually still receiving notifications. And so it actually says swipe to unlock behind the print.
Where do you see the swipe to unlock on this photo? At the very bottom.
Yes.
I'm going to show defense counsel first, and then with the court's permission, may I show the court?
Yes.
What time did you leave that day, you said?
8:45.
Okay. At some point, were you asked to assist the same agency in photographing a suspect named Jose Ibarra?
Yes.
Can you tell the court what day and time were you asked to do that, and where were you, and what did you do?
That would have been the 23rd, and it was approximately 9 p.m. when I arrived at the police department.
Which police department?
The Athens-Clarke County Police Department. They're photographs of Mr. Ibarra.
Did those photographs fairly and accurately depict him as you saw him on February 23rd of 2024?
Yes.
State would move to admit 93 through 115.
No objection.
93 through 115 are admitted.
It's an overall photograph.
States 94, and it might be really hard to see, but maybe not. What does that depict?
An overall photograph of his hands.
Okay. And did you observe or photograph any injuries to his hands?
I did.
In general, just show us where they were, and then I'll try to get the close-up photos. Okay, so you're on the left hand for the record?
Yes.
Okay. And you pointed to the wrist area.
Yes.
Left pinky finger.
Yes.
Okay.
And I believe I photographed this one as well.
Right middle finger.
Yes.
So, States 95. That could be hard to see. Can you see?
Yes.
Okay, show us that injury. I'll show a few more of these. States 100.
That's the wrist, left wrist,
States 98.
left pinky.
Whose scale is that?
Mine.
That's 96. States 96.
Oh yeah, that would have been I think the left middle finger from the previous photo.
All right. States 101.
So now we're on the right hand.
102.
There's a small, well, it's like a scratch.
Okay, in the middle of States 102.
Yeah, on the middle finger.
States 103.
Photographing the other side of the hand.
104.
Overall of the inner forearms, forearms.
105.
A scratch on the forearm.
Can you show that to the court? Is that where your sticker is?
Yeah.
Your scale?
Yes.
Okay.
I try to put the scale close to the injury.
And is that his right side or his left side?
I believe that's the left side.
What I need
Yes, because it would be here.
to All right. That's the left side?
Yes.
States 106.
It's an overall of his upper body.
States 107.
an overall of the back, and there's something here
Okay, when you say something, where are you pointing?
in the middle.
And did you observe an injury there?
Yes.
And did you photograph that?
Yes.
States 108. Is that where your scale is the injury that you observed
Yes.
in the photograph? I might need to hand these back to you if you can't tell what they
Okay.
are. So you let me know, okay?
Okay.
States 114.
That's the left side of the neck.
And what did you observe to the left side of his neck?
A scratch.
All right, and is that, you just point to it for the record, above the necklace but below the ear?
Yes.
States 115.
That's the same injury with a scale.
And what side of your scale is that injury for the record? In the middle of the photograph to the right side of the scale?
Yes.
States 112.
That would be the right side of the front neck.
What did you observe there? Okay, you
Looked like it
pointed.
was a scratch.
Okay, in the middle of the photo. States 113.
Same scratch with a scale.
These are the ones I think I'm going to have to come and hand back to you. May I
Okay.
approach the witness?
Yes.
I'm not sure you'll be able to tell based on what I put up, or the way that I put them up. It's probably easier to see. What part of the body is that?
This looks like it's the back. 109 looks like it's a close-up of the back,
Okay.
the mark that was on the back. And then 110 would be the right elbow area. And then 111 is a close-up of that.
And approach to retrieve.
Yes. I'll tell you what, going forward, both prosecution and defense can move around freely. You don't have to ask. I know you're trying, that's gonna be a hard habit to break.
It
isn't
will, but I will do my
So-
best, Your Honor.
That's okay.
You may
I was
have.
just trying to,
Thank you. Yes, I understand. I will do my best. You may have to remind me because I used to get yelled at if I did that. So then, just briefly, states 110. Can you show us the scratch on that?
Yes.
And then 111. Is that the same area with the scale?
Yes.
Okay. May I have one moment, Your Honor, with Counselor? Pass the witness.
respect.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
When you arrived on the crime scene, the body had already been moved, is that right?
Correct.
And were you informed about how the body was moved?
Yes.
So you were aware that some policemen grabbed the ankles and some grabbed her arms to move her?
Correct.
At some point you photographed a metal washer on the trail. Did that turn out to have any evidentiary significance in the case?
I don't believe it did.
Okay. Let's see. When, it's hard for us to tell from the pictures, but when you photographed the rocks on scene, were they lying on top of the leaves or partially buried by the leaves?
They were lying on top of the leaves. Like when I went to collect them, it wasn't like they left a depression. Like it wasn't like they had been sitting there for a while.
So they had, they were on top of leaves and they were not in the dirt, is what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay. And you said that you didn't see any other rocks in the area, but to be fair, you weren't out there with a rake looking for other rocks.
I did move. So it's common for us when we have outdoor scenes in the woods, we do move the leaves to search for additional evidence, especially because it was windy and I knew that the leaves could have shifted. We did kind of like rake up, not using a rake, but literally on my hands and knees, crawling through the area, trying to find additional items.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. All right, fair enough. Okay. So in States 45, we saw a picture close up of Laken Riley's hand and her fingernails. eventually her fingernails were clipped. Is that correct?
Correct.
Did you do the clipping yourself?
I did not. That's done at the autopsy.
Okay. So these photos would have been before her fingernails were clipped.
Correct.
Okay. I want to talk a little bit about the latent print that you talked about with Ms. Ross. So you described that it was on the very bottom of the screen
Correct.
and right where it would have said swipe up to unlock. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, you own an iPhone.
Correct.
I own an iPhone. And you would agree with me that some iPhones have different screen sizes.
Yes.
But you would also agree with me that the marker to hang up a phone call is not at the very bottom of a screen.
It depends on your phone, but it doesn't vary that much. I mean, I have an iPhone 13 mini, and which is probably the smallest iPhone you could have. And the screen size is not significantly different.
Sure. So just for demonstrative purposes, I'm going to show you my phone. It is also an iPhone. Let's see if I can get it angled the right way. Would you agree with me that oh goodness. Would you agree with me that that's a fairly accurate screenshot of where the call would be displayed on an iPhone?
Yes.
And you would agree with me that there's about an inch between the red hang up sign and the bottom of the screen?
Yes, but your iPhone has the button.
It does have the button, but from the bottom of the screen to the red button is about an inch.
I'd have to measure it.
It's not touching the bottom of the screen, right?
No.
You were present during the autopsy of Miss Riley,
Correct.
and you spoke with the medical examiner regarding the state of the crime scene as she was doing the autopsy.
I did.
Did you discuss her conclusions with her at that time?
No.
You noted in your report that you searched Miss Riley's shoes for a house key.
Yes, so at some point while we were working the crime scene, we were looking for her phone and potentially a house key. So some runners run with the house key in their shoe. They take the single key and they put it in their shoe.
And you didn't find the house key in her shoe.
I did not.
Did you ever find the house key in any of her clothing articles?
I did not.
Okay. I want to talk briefly about your photos of Mr. Ibarra. You took photos of his arms, his hands, his back, and his neck. Are those the areas that you photographed?
And his legs.
And his legs.
Yes.
We didn't go through any photos of his legs. Were there any injuries that you saw on his legs?
I did not observe any.
Now, when you took photos of Mr. Ibarra, you were also collecting evidence for a DNA test. Is that correct?
Yes.
And to do that, you collected some buccal swabs.
Sergeant Saunders collected those.
In your presence?
Correct.
Okay. And buccal swabs would be on the insides of the cheeks, correct?
Yeah, it's actually buccal swabs.
Thank you. And then you also tried to collect DNA from the fingernails, or at least collect his fingernails for DNA analysis. Is that true?
Correct, yeah. He had really short fingernails, so there was no way that I was going to be able to clip them.
So they were too short to even clip a little bit off of?
Yes, it would have been extremely painful.
Okay. And so instead, you guys resorted to a backup plan, which is where you swabbed the kind of underneath his fingernails?
Yes.
And you did that. And were those sent to the lab for testing as well?
That I do not know.
Okay. The injuries that you, well, I guess who had custody of those swabs under his fingernails? Would that be Officer Saunders?
Yes.
Okay. The injuries that you observed on his back and his neck and his arms, some of those injuries were lighter and some were darker. Is that true?
Correct.
All right.
Would it look more like my iPhone?
Yes.
No home button.
Correct.
Hold on just a second. Miss Jackson's about to call me. Okay, so do you see where my phone is?
Yes.
Would the hang up button be where the answer button is as well? Oh, I'm sorry. Do you see my green?
Yes.
Okay.
The slide to answer. Yes.
All right, slide to answer. And that is how close to the bottom of the phone?
It's closer than if you have a home button.
Okay, thank you.
I am Zachary Davis, Z-A-C-H-A-R-Y, last name D-A-V-I-S.
Where do you work?
I'm a police officer with the Athens-Clarke County Police Department.
How long have you worked for the Athens-Clarke County Police Department?
I have been employed with Athens-Clarke County since March 7th of 2022.
What are your duties with Athens Clarke County Police Department?
I am a patrol officer. I'm assigned to the West Side Division, work night shift between 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. That a female had been murdered in the IM fields, the intramural fields located on UGA's property, just across the village from my zone.
And when you say just across from my zone, what do you mean by that?
So we divide the county along Millage. Everything on the east side of Millage, like the downtown area, is east side. I work the west side, so everything on the west side, closer to Oconee County and the mall, that's typically assigned to our side of town.
So Millage is basically smack in between the east side and the west side.
Yes,
Are you familiar with the IM fields in that area of the University of Georgia?
I am.
And how are you familiar with that area?
Prior to being a police officer with Athens Clarke County, I was employed by the University of Georgia Police Department and served on their patrol division for 5 years and some change.
So when you came to work that evening and were given this information, what, if anything, did you do?
My shift, we assigned more units down towards that Millage area, just hoping to assist in any way that we could. I immediately started talking to some of the locals, asking if anybody had heard of anything. Nobody really knew anything and could point me in any sort of direction to start working. At that point, the only real information we've been provided was a photo, a very grainy photo that I was told was taken from Building S on the University of Georgia's, when I worked there, it was called Family Housing. I'm not sure what it's called now. It's down there off of Rogers Road and East Campus Road. I was told that photo was of someone suspicious in the area that morning. I knew the proximity of Building S to the IM fields and the location that I worked for the county down in South Millage, and I began checking in those areas for anything to go off of.
So tell us the proximities that you knew of then. The Building S that you're familiar with, how far
Sure.
away was that from Millage?
From Millage, if it's just a straight line, it's maybe 100, 150 yards, I guess.
And you were made aware of where the woman had been killed. How far away was that from Building S?
Maybe another 100 yards. I still don't know the exact location, but I knew it was within that proximity of walking distance.
And may I publish?
Yes.
So starting first with 144, is that the image that you were talking about that you had received?
Yes, ma'am.
And you said you got to work about 6 p.m. that day?
Yes, that's when my shift starts.
Okay. And you had that image, you said you started asking people, you know, millaging around. What else did you do in relation to trying to assist the officers with the crime that had just occurred?
So, given the university's location to Millage, I recalled an incident from 6 years ago where I pursued a subject from Building S, behind Building S, to, at the time, what was Argo Apartments at that 291, 295 address. And there's a perfect cut through that walks through those two. So I figured the ease of access for someone to easily cut over to Millage. I began checking dumpsters, just because people tend to try and get rid of property in dumpsters that they don't want to be in possession of. I checked several dumpsters. We had also been called to, people were starting to call in about everything at this point, not really knowing what's going on, trying to be helpful. During that time, I found myself at the Rain Tree Apartments, wherever it was called. Started going through those dumpsters. There's one immediately behind the Italian restaurant that's there, that's still on the Rain Tree property. Looked in there, didn't see anything that really appeared to be evident that it was, pertinent to what was going on. I then made my way around. I noticed that the trash had been picked up recently. It's a rather large complex, and
Sorry, we had the lights off before you got there.
you're fine. And then, so the trash had been picked up either earlier that day or relatively recently, just due to the lack of trash that was in there. I made my way further into the complex, and I noticed there were 3 dumpsters, 2 of which were trash receptacles and one that was clearly marked for recycling. I checked the 2 trash ones. They have the sliding doors on the side. Looked in there, didn't notice anything. Again, nothing that really stuck out to me as pertinent. Finally went to the one that was strictly labeled for recycling. The sides of it were welded shut, but the top was open, so I climbed up onto it and looked down into it, and that's why I noticed the blue jacket.
Okay. And what, if anything, did you notice about the blue jacket? And is it the blue jacket that is depicted here in States 140?
It is.
All right, there's a pointer right next to you. Can you point out the jacket?
Oh, wow.
Oh, it should be. Oh, nope. There's your pointer.
Perfect. So, that is the jacket. The photo of the suspicious individual, they were wearing a darker colored jacket, appeared to have some shinier zippers or buttons on the front. Again, super grainy, but something to go on. The zipper, as well as it appeared as though there were leaves, and upon further examination, there was a little bit more.
Okay. Could you see anything else on the jacket at some point?
Not from this height. At this point, we didn't want to just be chasing down clothes in dumpsters, but given this proximity to the scene as well as the photo that was taken, I immediately notified my supervisor so that he could contact the University of Georgia Police Department since they were working the case. Detectives from UGA came out to look at it. They decided they would like to collect the evidence. I volunteered to climb into a dumpster, and upon picking up the jacket, I noticed that there were leaves on it. There were tears on the front as well, and what appeared to be some darker red or brown stains on the sleeves near the wrist.
Okay, and did you notice anything else on the jacket?
There was, I believe in my video I stated it's a button. The front has two pockets up here that fold down, and on the bottom has two pockets that fold out, that the buttons are used to close those pockets. Wrapped around one of the pocket buttons appeared to be dark hair. Norris from the University of Georgia Police Department. He's the one currently standing on the side of the dumpster. The gentleman on the right is, I'm not sure of his rank at this time, but it is, when I was there, Lieutenant Graham.
Okay. So are those ACC PD officers or UGA PD
University
officers?
of Georgia Police
Okay,
officers.
thank you.
The first 30 seconds is silent on all of our videos. It gives a chance to buffer and go backwards from time of activation.
Okay. So we'll hear volume in a second.
Yes,
All right.
about 10 seconds. Come on. Oh shit.
Yeah.
There's hair on the buttons, ripped up sleeves.
Can you bundle it up with whatever is. Yeah, let me open this bag.
See a brunette?
Yeah.
There's women's long hair wrapped up in the buttons. Are we looking for a white coffee cup?
A white cup?
It's not the same. It's part of some other trash. I know I still talk bad about it. I don't see anything else sticking out. You good with it? What? Been called dumb before. No one satisfied? A report.
Satisfied.
How many dumpsters had you looked at that evening before you got to this one?
Before to this one, I believe there's one dumpster area located behind the Tall Boy Liquor Store, which is at the intersection of Millage and the Inner Loop exit ramp. So that would be one or two dumpsters there. The other one on that property and then including the 2 more, so that puts us at 5, and this dumpster makes 6. Somewhere in that area.
All right. And we heard you say something about a coffee cup, a white coffee cup.
Correct.
What was that all about? What were you looking for?
In the, what are we calling it? The grainy photo.
Sure.
In the grainy photo, it appears that the subject's carrying a coffee cup.
Okay, well, hold on just a second. Maybe toggle back over. In states 144, do you see the cup you were talking about?
I do.
Okay, is that in the person's right or left hand?
Their left hand.
All right. Is that what you were looking for in the dumpster?
Yes, I just
Okay.
remembered seeing the photo and seeing a white coffee cup, but it didn't appear large enough, and I picked it up.
And so you didn't find that, but you looked.
Correct.
And anything else in the dumpster?
That was suspicious to you at all?
No.
All right. And when you hopped out of the dumpster, did you see a camera?
Yes.
Let me back up a little bit, and I want you to show us the camera that you saw when you got out. I'm going to go back to where you hop out, and I want you to tell me to stop when you see the camera.
Can we get the video back?
Just a minute, let's go back over.
Oh, sorry. So for the record now, I have states 141, and I'm just using the UTC time at this point at 2:59.
So
I'm stopping it now at 2:59.
yeah. So this apartment, right here is Bravo 32 at Raintree Apartments. In that doorway, I believe it's on the left side, you can kind of see a dark spot right there.
Mm-hmm.
That dark spot in a clearer video would clearly be a security footage camera of that residence.
Okay. And did you let UGAPD or UGPD know that as well?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Obviously see you get the jacket, take custody of the jacket, and before you put it into that paper bag, you were sort of talking to the other officers who were outside of the dumpster, right, describing a little bit.
Correct.
And one of the things we hear you say is that it's torn.
Correct.
And do you recall how many tears?
I do not. I did not want to manipulate the jacket any more than I needed to package it, but I also wanted to get as much of a description that I could at the time.
And then, and obviously you didn't examine it further after you packaged it up.
Correct.
Okay. That's all I have.
No, sir.
First name is Daniel. Last name Saunders.
Where do you work?
The University of Georgia Police Department.
How long have you worked there?
I worked there since 2008.
119.
Right here.
In the middle, okay. You can have a seat again. And then States Exhibit 120. What direction is that?
This is going to be facing toward the east, back toward the family housing area.
And do you see the cup in States 120?
No, not in this image.
Is
Yes,
it-
I do. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
It's
is that hard
kinda
to see
grainy.
because of the glare?
Yeah.
All right.
Right here.
All right, so you pointed out in the right side of the photograph. In this photograph, where is the university housing that you mentioned?
University housing is right here on the hill behind the trees.
Okay, thank you. So, did you collect this cup?
Yes.
And when you went to collect the cup, did it have anything in it or was it empty?
It had a liquid inside of the cup.
And did you smell the liquid?
Yes.
And what, if anything, did you smell?
It smelled like alcohol.
You have gloves?
Yes.
You can put those on, please. I'm going to hand you what's been marked for identification purposes, the State's Exhibit 148. And as you look inside of that, and I'll ask you questions.
Yeah.
Do you recognize State's 148?
Yes.
What is it?
This is the cup that I collected that was featured in that photograph.
And did the cup that you collect also have a straw with it?
Yes.
And is this cup in the same or substantially same condition as it was when you collected it?
Yes.
And do you see the straw and the top to the cup as well in there?
Yes.
State would move to admit states 148, request permission to publish.
No objection.
148 submitted, you may. Okay.
Prior to collecting the cup, what did you do with the liquid?
I poured it in a separate container and sealed that separate from the cup.
I assisted her by collecting the actual items that were on the scene, by helping her physically put them in the bags, the collection bags. Also, when I collected the cup, and when we found the victim's cell phone, I collected, or Agent Stewart collected that, and then I processed it.
Also, the items that were collected by yourself and Special Agent Stewart that day, were they sealed by you?
Yes.
And were they dropped off at the Georgia Bureau of Investigation Crime Lab for processing sealed?
Yes. Yes.
And when you arrived on scene, was the watch still running?
Yes.
State would move to admit State's Exhibit 146.
No objection.
146 submitted.
May I publish?
Yes.
And there's 153. I'm going to ask you about 153. But before I do that, tell us about when the phone was found. How did you physically process the phone?
Using a sterile brush and sterile black powder that Agent Stewart had in her crime scene vehicle.
Okay, and did y'all do that together as well?
She photographed the item prior to me processing it. After she was done photographing it, I physically processed the phone itself.
Okay. And were you able to lift a latent lift off of that phone?
Yes.
If you could look at States 153, what is that?
This is the latent lift from that phone.
The state would move to admit States 153.
No objection.
153 is admitted.
And I want to ask you, did you note on the lift card where on the phone you found that impression? Or developed that impression? Or saw that impression?
Yes, there's a drawing on the front of the print card itself on where that print came from.
All right, is that the mark that you have there? Is that an X?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And I'll publish that to the court. So it's this drawing here where it says sketch and an X.
Correct.
That's where you saw the impression.
Correct.
And this latent lift card and Special Agent Stewart's photographs of the latent lift that you all saw on Laken Riley's phone on the 22nd day of February 2024. What did you do with those items? What happened to the photographs and the latent lift card itself?
Those were provided to Tim Stewart with Athens Clarke County Police Department.
And what was the purpose of providing those items to him?
He is the local APHIS fingerprint examiner, so those were provided for him for comparison purposes and to run on APHIS.
I want to direct your attention to later on that evening. About what time did you leave the crime scene?
We left, the crime scene work was actually complete around 8:45. We left closer to 9 o'clock.
When you left, where did you go?
We were headed back to the station. On the way there, I received notification that Officer Davis with the Athens Clarke County Police Department had found some items, a jacket that may have been related to our crime scene.
So did you respond to that location?
Yes.
When you were there, what, if anything, did you collect or see?
While we were on the scene, I collected, I handed an evidence bag to Officer Davis with Athens Clarke County Police Department. He put a blue jacket inside of that bag, and we also collected a set of gloves that were found in a bush nearby where the dumpster was. As we were searching the area around where the jacket was found, we had noticed that there was a security camera in one of the apartments nearby. We spoke with a resident of that apartment, and he allowed us to view his camera footage from that security camera that was pointed at the dumpster. After watching that security footage, we noticed that somebody had put an item in that dumpster, and then after they put the item in the dumpster, they walked toward the bush and appeared to put something in the bush as well. So we checked that specific area of the bush where you could see somebody put something in there.
And what, if anything, did you see in the bush when you checked it?
Some gloves that were wrapped up together.
What kind of gloves?
They were black, black gloves.
Cloth or not cloth?
No, not cloth.
States 130, what does that depict?
That is a picture of the bush in relation to where the dumpster itself was.
Can you tell us which bush you went into? Because I see 2 in States 130.
Yes, I believe it was this one, but one of the other pictures should show it from a different angle as well.
Okay. States 127.
Yeah, it was this bush right here.
And when you say this one, is that the one in the middle? Or
Correct, the one in the middle. It was found right here in these branches.
States 129.
That's how the gloves were situated. We hadn't touched them or anything at this point. This is how they were found in the bush.
And 128.
That's a little bit closer up or further off image of where the gloves were found in the bush.
And how many gloves were there?
I did not unravel the gloves on scene.
Okay, so what did you do with them?
They were turned into the GBI crime lab afterwards.
What is 147?
This is the jacket that was recovered from the dumpster.
Is there a hood on this jacket that I'm holding?
Yes.
After the collection of the gloves and the jacket, did you have the opportunity to also assist Special Agent Stewart in processing of the defendant in this case and collecting a sample of his DNA and photographing him?
Yes.
When did that occur?
This occurred on the 23rd.
Of what month?
The 23rd of February.
And in looking through the items that belonged to Diego Ibarra, did you see any items that had any blood on it?
No.
States 131, what's that?
That's a picture of the bag.
States 134, what are those?
Those are 2 gloves that were found inside of the bag.
States 135.
The other side of those gloves that were found in the bag.
Now, are those cloth gloves or plastic gloves?
Those are cloth gloves. One of them is kind of a mix of leather type material and cloth.
And were there any blood on these items?
No.
Or was there any blood on those items?
No.
137.
That's a picture of the inside of the bag itself.
138.
That is the shoes that were inside the bag. I took those out and photographed them.
And these are just other items. Let's see, 136,
Those were found inside the bag as well.
139,
Those also found inside the bag.
133,
That was inside the bag.
132.
And that was in the bag as well.
Is it Lieutenant Saunders?
Yes.
Lieutenant, you were called to the scene on February 22nd, you said around 2 o'clock p.m.?
No.
You can look at your report if you need
Yeah,
to
we
refresh.
arrived around 12:57.
12:57. Okay. And you had initially started to process, or you were moving toward the scene to process it yourself.
I was right. Before I was notified that the GBI was on the way, I took some photographs of the overall scene.
Sure. And then when you were told GBI was sending somebody, you kind of held off until they arrived.
Correct.
And is it fair to say that she took the lead on documenting the scene?
Yes.
Or, okay. Was there any investigative act that you took the lead on, or were you just letting her and following along behind her?
The only thing that I didn't, or that I collected without being in the presence of Agent Stewart, was the styrofoam cup
Okay.
and the jacket and the gloves later on.
Okay. Let's talk about the latent fingerprint discovered on the phone. That was later at night, around 9 o'clock. You can refer to your report.
It was later at night. It was a little bit before 9 o'clock.
And before you processed it for fingerprints, you noticed that it was the fingerprint appeared to be made with some sort of reddish substance.
There appeared to be some sort of reddish substance in the fingerprint.
Did you believe it was blood?
I wasn't sure what it was.
Okay. Was it a liquid red substance?
It appeared to be made from a liquid, yes.
Okay. So we have heard you use the term processed. What do you mean by processed?
When I say process, it can mean different things, but in this particular case, I mean using fingerprint powder and a fingerprint brush to make the print itself stand out.
And what is that fingerprint powder made of?
I'm not 100% sure.
Okay. When you use fingerprint powder on a substance, is that substance then able to be chemically examined, or does the fingerprint powder kind of ruin whatever chemical substance was there before?
So I know the fingerprint powder and the brush we use is DNA free. As far as chemical processing afterwards, I can't say whether or not that would prevent anything like that from being done.
Was the surface of the phone ever tested for DNA?
The surface of the phone was swabbed.
And were those swabs sent off for DNA testing?
They were given to the GBI crime lab.
Because DNA can be transferred by as simple as a touch, is that right?
I can't say how much of a touch it takes to transfer DNA.
But your testimony a moment ago was that you put on gloves to avoid transferring that DNA.
Correct. So when I collected the gloves, they were still bundled up in a ball. I did not undo the ball to photograph the condition. From what I understand, from when they were photographed at the crime lab, a tear was seen in the gloves.
First name is Preston, Preston. Last name Norris, N is in November, ORRIS.
Where do you work?
University of Georgia Police.
How long have you worked there?
Going on 6 years.
Were you assigned as the lead investigator in the murder of Laken Riley?
I was.
Tell us, first of all, did you respond to the scene of her murder?
I did.
What time did you get there?
Approximately 1 o'clock.
What did you do while you were there?
I assisted Sergeant Daniel Saunders. Well, he's a lieutenant now. He was the lead evidence custodian at the time. I assisted him and GBI Special Agent Daniela Stewart in processing the crime scene.
and assisting them, at some point were you an individual or the individual that was able to locate Laken Riley's phone?
I was.
Tell the court about that process and how it is that you were able to find her phone.
Okay, so we were unable to find her phone that entire day. We had evidence that showed that it was still in the area based on what her roommates were saying, that it was still pinging near where the body was found. And we also had live pings coming from Verizon, which was the cell phone provider that Laken had. So we knew it was still in the area. We believed it may be under where her body was located. So as soon as the coroner removed her body, we first searched in that area for the cell phone. It was not there. So then I started a periodic search around where the body was located. And about 25 minutes into that process, I found the phone.
Okay. By the time that you did that, what's a periodic search?
So I did like a 20-yard perimeter of where her body was found. So I went directly in front of where the body was found, looked in that area, kind of moved to the right, basically moved in a circle around the body within like 20 yards, shining my flashlight just to see if I could get anything to reflect off the light. And the phone did reflect off my flashlight.
So by the time that you were doing that, was it dark?
It was very dark.
Okay, I'm showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 171. Do you recognize that?
I do.
What is it?
This is my flex cam footage of me finding the cell phone.
Is that you that just talked?
Yes, that is my voice.
What did you say?
I almost stepped on it.
And by it, you meant?
The cell phone.
All right, so you see your flashlight. What time was this now if you look at the time on your flex cam?
In Eastern Standard Time, this is 6:56 in the evening.
And what are the white things that we see in your reflection off your light?
Dust, bugs,
Okay.
just stuff.
Things that are in the woods?
Yes.
So you locate the phone, and then who ends up collecting that phone?
Daniela Stewart with the GBI and Sergeant Saunders.
States 172 for the record. This is the first video on that thumb drive. Do you see the dumpster that you were at that night in States Exhibit 172 in this video?
I do.
Okay. Can you please point to it for the court using a pointer? There's a pointer right in front of you.
This?
No.
It's old school.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
In the center of the screen?
Yes.
Do you see in the UFI video a date and time at the top?
I do, yes.
What is the date and what is the time?
February 22nd, 2024 at 09:43 in the morning.
Is that complete playing the clip of the B32 UFI video from the 22nd day of February 2024 at 9:44 a.m.?
Yes.
All right, using this screen that's up is still 172 for the record. I want to ask you a series of questions about this exact location. It started too fast. I'm back it up. What are we looking at here in 172?
This is the GBI Cyber Forensics slowed down and enhanced version of the same video we watched earlier.
from B1 or from B32?
That's correct.
This ring.com video, do you see the date and time in the corner of it?
I do, yes.
And could you please tell us that for the record?
February 22nd, 2024 at 10:21 a.m. And that is Eastern Standard Time.
In what direction was that person walking in that video that we just saw?
It'd be south in the apartment complex towards a dumpster.
Okay. Next ring on D124, what's the date and time of this one?
This one is February 19th, 2024 at 02:02 a.m.
And this is what, the next video, what is this date?
This is February 21st, 2024, around midnight 21.
Okay, do you recognize the person in this video, this clip?
Yes, that is Diego Ibarra.
Okay. Sorry. The next one, I'm going to pause it real quick while it's running. What is the date and time of this one?
February 21st, 2024 at midnight 31.
And do you recognize the person in this video?
That is Jose Ibarra. And that is Diego Ibarra.
All right, now stop this one. This is the fifth video. What's the date and time of this one?
February 21st, 2024 at 7:02 p.m.
All right, do you see the shirt in that video?
I do, yes.
And have you seen that shirt before?
Yes, I have.
And where did you see that shirt?
This is the shirt that Jose Ibarra was wearing in the B32 video that captured him discarding the jacket in the dumpster.
Is he also wearing a hat in this video?
Yes, he is.
And what type of hat is it?
It is a flat bill style hat.
And stopping the next video, what's the date and time of this one?
February 21st, 2024 at 9:04 p.m.
What is in his hand?
I believe it's a cell phone.
And does he have a bag on in this video?
Yes, a crossbody sling bag.
Okay, can you point that bag out for the court, please?
This bag is right here across his body.
And in your investigation into this case and the searches that you all conducted, did you ever find that bag?
We did not.
The shirt that he's wearing in this video, did you ever find that shirt?
We did not.
Date and time of this, I believe, our fifth clip.
February 21st, 2024, 9:07 p.m.
And who is this person?
Jose Ibarra.
And now what is he wearing?
That is the blue jacket that we wound up finding in the B32 dumpster that had been discarded.
And the last clip.
February 22nd, 2024, 1:35 a.m.
And I may have to back it up for this, but what's he wearing in this video?
The blue jacket, the flat bill hat, pants and slides.
When you say slides, what do you mean by slides?
Slide on basketball shoes. Open toe.
How much video did you look at from D124?
All of the videos she provided me with, I believe they went through February 19th of 2024 through February 23rd, 2024. So over 4 days.
And were you looking for both Diego Ibarra and Jose Ibarra?
Yes, I was looking for all of the residents of the apartment, 126.
What is 162?
This is a picture that depicts Jose Ibarra without the bag that I saw him with 3 minutes prior in their ring video.
What's the date and time of that?
February 22nd, 2024, 10:24 a.m.
$159. Does this depict, and what's the date and time?
The date and time is February 21st, 2024 at 9:35 p.m. and that is Jose Ibarra with the blue jacket and the black and white Adidas cap.
So unlike the ring footage from D124, the still photos are actually in color.
Yes, you can actually see the colors of the images.
And do these color images line up timestamp wise with the Ring doorbell video or the Ring video? It's not
Yes,
doorbell.
they do.
Okay. So States Exhibit 160, date and time?
February 21st, 2024, 11:44 p.m.
What is depicted in that photo?
That is Jose Ibarra wearing the gray and black t-shirt with the crossbody sling bag.
161.
February 22nd, 2024, 1:34 a.m. And that is Jose Ibarra with the sling bag and the blue jacket, which you can't see his face in this one, but it lines up with the Ring video that was captured at 1:35.
Okay, so if you look at the Ring video at the same time and compare the same,
Yes,
you can see the face.
because he is walking in that direction.
And 158.
February 21st, 2024, 7:08 p.m. And that is Jose Ibarra carrying the blue jacket the same way he was carrying it in the B-32 video.
Did you conduct other video review in this case?
I did. I've watched hundreds of hours of video for this case.
States Exhibit 157, I want you to explain to the court, in general terms, and maybe we'll drill down, but in general terms, what videos did you watch and why?
So the ones that are not depicted on this photo, I watched surrounding business video that was in the area of Millage Avenue and Macon Highway, which was the Shell gas station, the Chevron gas station, the Waffle House, and a liquor store, I believe it's Tall Boy Package Store. I watched all of our video footage, exterior and interior cameras, February 22nd, 2024, 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. that day. And then this photo depicts the UGA campus security camera map. So all the little camera icons that you see on this map, at each of those locations there are 4 different cameras. And I watched all of the video cameras from those areas.
And in watching and looking at all of the cameras that you saw that day, we'll talk about the trailer cam separately with Detective Rabu. But did you ever see Diego Ibarra?
I did not.
And other than the trailer cam that we're going to talk about with Detective Rabu, did you see Jose Ibarra beyond that camera?
Yes. Okay.
We have a... Thank you. Besides the trailer cam that I will talk about separately with Detective Rabu, did you see Jose Ibarra?
I did not.
And did you also look between 6 a.m. and 1 p.m. for any other people who might have been suspicious, may have been up to no good?
Yes, that was the main point of the.
Okay. And did you investigate and follow up any of the things of interest for you from all of that camera review?
Yes.
Good afternoon, Detective
Hey, Mr.
Norris.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are you considered the lead detective on this case? Is that the position that you took?
Yes.
Okay. Would it have been your job to make any DNA requests on collected evidence in the case?
In this particular case, Sergeant Saunders handled most of the evidence that was collected
Okay.
and requesting tests from the GBI.
Did you make any requests?
I did not.
Okay. But as part of your job as lead investigator, it would be your job to review everything, correct?
Yes, I have reviewed everything.
Okay. And to make any additional requests that hadn't been accomplished?
Correct.
Okay. And there were swabs taken of Laken Riley's telephone, is that correct? Swabs for DNA?
I did not collect those swabs.
But you're aware of the swabs being taken as lead
Yes.
investigator, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Were those swabs sent to the GBI for examination?
I do not believe so.
Okay. And so you do not know what's on those swabs,
No.
correct? All right. And you did not ask for those to be examined?
I did not.
Okay. There were swabs taken from the fingernails of Jose Ibarra, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And what were those swabs taken for?
To compare DNA that was collected at the scene.
Okay. And were those swabs tested by the GBI as part of this case?
I believe so.
They were?
I'm not 100% certain at this moment, no, sir.
Okay. But you testified that you had reviewed everything, and so is it just a matter of looking back over your report, or is it just a matter of...
This is a very weird scenario. I am the lead investigator, but there were many moving parts here.
Sure.
I did review everything at one point in time, and everything that was pertinent to the case, I was made aware of at that time.
Okay.
I can't recall every single test that was done by the GBI and what those tests, what the results of those tests were.
Okay. You don't personally recall ever requesting or reviewing any results from the swabbings of the fingernails of Jose Ibarra?
I have reviewed them at one point in time, yes, sir.
Okay. All right. As part of your investigation in this case, you're kind of someone who is overseeing other officers. There's a lot of other investigators and detectives and crime scene people that you're kind of overseeing. Is that right?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Okay. Reviewing things and making sure that everything gets done correctly. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so you're not doing a lot of the actual investigation in this case, but you're helping out where you can and you're doing your part, but there's a lot of things that are that you're kind of overseeing.
Correct. There were a lot of moving parts in this investigation.
Okay. You did do some investigation into the use of Jose Ibarra's phone, did you not?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And as part of that investigation, you came to learn that it was not just Mr. Ibarra who was using that phone. Is that right?
I learned that in October of 2023, it was possible that someone else was using that phone. That's correct.
Okay. And in fact, 2 or 3 other individuals. Is that right?
2 that
Okay.
I know of. Yes.
2 other individuals.
Yes, besides Jose. Yes.
Okay. And that was for the main phone number that you all were investigating that was supposed to be linked to Mr. Ibarra. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. And that number began with 347358?
Yes, that sounds correct.
Okay. That's all the question I have, Judge.
October of 2023 is how much prior to the murder of Laken Riley?
That'd be 4 months prior.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Anything else? Mr. Kirby?
Judge, nothing right now.
Okay, well,